Do you remember your
I'm on
question? Do you
mute.
want me to read it?
Yeah. No, I think I remember the question. So yeah, I'm looking at my Looker Studio report, the
Yeah.
marketing campaign results from Curious Ants.
Yeah.
And the two on the right hand, what do they do after finding us? It's
Yeah.
showing me invalid, missing dimensions, and then the one below is incomplete.
Yeah.
I have not set up conversions for this website, so I need to go back and go do that. But
Yeah.
I feel like, it's giving me like an engagement rate underneath this. I can share my screen.
No,
But
that's fine.
uh, is there is the logical step just to go back into the process and like assign, because I have Gravity forms set up, like they can submit a form, I
Yeah.
could create some conversions. I just have never set it up. And there's even like a phone, I've just never set up any sort of phone conversions either.
Right.
um I'm guessing that's probably the recommended step. Go create some conversions and then come back to this chart and then connect the proper fields, because it's not a e-commerce site, so I can't use the purchase events. I would have to change that.
Right. And by creating key events, the new report should work
The
because
newer
it only
purchase reward.
reports key events.
Okay, it
Okay.
will. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah,
yes.
it will. It will.
It says key events colon purchase though.
Well, but that's
That's
because
the only.
that's the key event in the database.
Okay, I got it.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
all right.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so I like your question because I want to phrase it a different way, right?
please.
What if the client doesn't have any conversions? What should you report?
Yes.
Right, right. And so what I will do to be a little obnoxious about this is provide the report and have the report be broken because there are no conversions. Because I want to prove to the client that the value is the conversion they got out of it. And so, number one, that acts as a nag for me to make sure I do the conversions. But two, if the client's adamant, the report's set up to say, look at all the traffic you got, but we don't know what you got out of the traffic.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you like to know that, dear client? Please let me set up conversions for you. And so, there are lots of things potentially you could report, like engagement rate, time on site, bounce rates, but these are what people resort to when they don't have conversion tracking, and
Yeah.
and can be really misleading. So I kind of don't want to replace the conversion data with that, even in the meantime, because I don't want them to get used to thinking that's a
That's
success.
valuable data. Exactly.
Right,
Yeah. And they're basically like, what keywords are we ranking for? Which kind
right,
of circles back to the previous question.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
rank is another good example of, because I don't know what I'm getting, I want to go to a metric that's earlier in the funnel
Yeah.
rather than the conversion. And so we want to get our clients to thinking about what kind of conversions are getting as soon as possible. And we want that conversation about the quality of the conversions, the number of conversions, and where they're coming from. So they stop asking questions like, where do I rank for this word? What about this word? What about this word?
Yeah.
What's my
Because it
bounce
doesn't
rate? What's
matter
my
if
time
it's,
on
yeah.
site?
Yeah.
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 I do something very similar with mine, David. Like, I always like to have access to Google Search Console so I know, kind of what's happening. And I put that in the report. And if I had one that I couldn't get access to, I have a big thing, cannot access Google Search
Right.
Console, so that the whole page is blank.
Yeah.
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 But it's very tempting to replace those metrics with something in the meantime, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Got it.
It is worth the client's time to know conversions. And if they had like this is a great example for a site that's like, I'm just a brochure site, which I don't believe brochure sites exist. But if someone thinks they're just a brochure site, I don't really want conversions. Well, let's beg that question. What is the purpose of the site then?
Yeah.
Right? You realize with a little bit of effort, we could know if people contact you, right? Wouldn't that be valuable? Yeah, that would.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, don't resist the temptation to substitute something. My report is a suggestion. You do what you think is best for the client, but in my experience, I want to put the conversation to conversion as quick as possible. and get the focus on conversions so we're not using these other metrics and then caught in a feedback loop of, well, what do we do to improve the time on site? Well, how to do that isn't necessarily the same answer to get more conversions. And
Yep.
so I kind of don't want that. For example, you mentioned the engagement rate in the default report. I almost didn't put that in there,
Okay.
right? Because I feel that that's one of those, we can't really affect it. And if it goes up or down, does it really matter? Does it really affect people's bottom lines?
Yeah.
And so I actually never mention it in my clients' reports. Even though I provide it for them, I never mention the engagement rate because I kind of don't want to get caught in the conversation of, well, what do we need to do to improve our engagement rate?
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't you rather
just
have
take it off?
customers?
Yeah. Do you just take it off?
I actually leave it on there because I'm lazy.
Okay.
I
Got it.
should take it off. So maybe your incentive, you're challenging me to to actually take it off because
I mean,
clients
yeah,
don't
like
even
it's
ask
like
about
everything
it.
else is pretty much like going up, like I have a lot of green arrows up, but
Good.
that one's down. So
Right.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that they'll ask the question. They will.
Right. Good. Good question.